Say
Hi.
hi.
Hey guys, I'm back.
So we'll quickly jump into the plot summary here. A great warrior, Li Mu Bai, decides to turn in his sword, the Green Destiny, to a treasured friend where it is promptly stolen. In his process to retrieve it, he gets tangled up trying to avenge his master's death at the hands of the evil Jade Fox. Li Mu Bai joins with Shu Lian in his quest, a longtime friend and unconfessed lover, as they tangle with a Jade Fox and Zhen Yu, who's sometimes called Zhao Long on the translation, who is a mysterious link between all these events. So, first impressions, how did you generally find the film? Ed, I'll go to you first.
Yeah, I really like this film. It's really good. I love it. As I was saying to the guys just before we started, I'm a bit of a martial arts film enthusiast. I'm not like super deep into it, I guess. I haven't seen everything Jackie Chan has ever made, but I've watched a fair few, and this is a good one. I like it. Yeah.
I've kind of come from an opposite place that I don't think I've ever really watched a martial arts film before. Not for any particular reason, just haven't really got around to it. But this was a pretty great introduction. Really enjoyed myself. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely really appreciated this. And for like anyone who hasn't seen this film, it's like got a kind of preposterous kind of style in the fighting, in that everything is like completely done with wire, so people just kind of fly through the air, jump up buildings, run across walls, all this crazy stuff. But it's not done in like a slapstick way. It's done in like quite a very arty way, I would say. And I've got to give like a lot of props to this guy Yuen Wo Ping, who is like meant to be, infamous fight choreographer who also worked on Kill Bill, The Matrix, who definitely put this together and was like amazing stuff. And I think you were saying, Rob, that like he kind of invented a lot of this rope stuff or the wires.
Yeah, I was reading some stuff around it that was like he sort of, I don't know if he was the inventor, but he was sort of like the popularizer at least. Like he, especially in terms of bringing it to the West, talked about him working on The Matrix and stuff like that. So yeah.
Yeah, I think, in fact, The Matrix, came out the year before this, or the same year as this.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Because this is
Big,
2000, I think The Matrix was 99.
Big action films. I think the choreography in this film is really good. Like, it's so important in a martial arts film to have like good choreography.
Yeah.
And you need to be working with like talent performers. But the choreography always super makes it. And there's like, I think this film is a martial arts films in that there's actually a lot of like, it's not all just like fights, because there's a lot of, sometimes you see like a Jackie Chan film, and it's like just the fights go on for ages. But there's a lot of like drama in between.
Yeah.
In fact, but when the fights do happen, they're very, very good.
Is it usual that like these sorts of films, because there's only really one scene or two that I can really think of where there was any like blood drawn, and a lot of it was sort of keeping this sort of mystical vibe that they had in terms of like the fighting and how the action is, with like in terms of how the violence was generally pretty tame, so that when like for example when one of the characters dies, it is pretty shocking and like,
yeah,
I don't know, not out of place in the film, but it's quite a significant moment just because of how like jarringly kind of bloody it is for a bit. Is that typical of martial arts films, or?
Well, I think martial arts films is like a broad scope, right? Because this obviously this is Hong Kong Chinese, and it's like one school of thought, and it's very, I get the impression it's very classical Hong Kong like film. It's almost like thespian in the way it's done. It's like the very clear act structure and the way the drama and the tragedy sort of move. It was like very classic storytelling. Whereas I'm thinking of something like it's over the top because it's a Tarantino film, but then like there's loads of like quite brutal. They were popular quite recently. Have you guys seen them? They're Indonesian, and they're like a bit gritty and stuff.
You talking about The Raid?
Oh fuck!
Ed, you're breaking up on me. I guess we'll, just to pick up on that, I think like it's not. There are. I think what I was saying was there's a spectrum of martial arts films. Some of them are a lot more bloody and like meant to be just shock value, like blood all the way through, and some of them are a bit more arty. So I don't think this is like a particular outlier, but I think the point you made about how it does really feel significant when a character dies, like is a strength of this film for sure, because there's like this policeman who dies at the start, he has this cool kind of like circular blade piece, which is really awesome, and like one of them just gets stuck in his head and he's like, and like it is actually significant, and like characters are talking about it, you see that it's not just people can die, and it can not matter, like, within the kind of nobility or the houses where they're talking about it the next day. Someone dying is actually like a big thing, and it feels significant as well, like especially with how no one, it's just like you just get bruised, you just get knocked over in these fights, even though they're fighting with swords. You just get like bashed about and knocked over. You're never like bleeding at various places, and then this guy just dies flat out, and it's like there's no question about it. Definitely like stood out as an important moment in the film. Just on the martial arts, one other thing that I wanted to touch on that I thought was really impressive was there's just so many different weapons in this film. I don't know if this is just like like little baby me who just loves this kind of stuff, but it's like it's not just swords. Like there's a scene in the restaurant when Jen just like goes crazy and kills all these people, or like fights all these people, and like there's a guy with huge clubs. There's these guys with like these kind of hooked sword things, and then like the spears. Everything kind of weapon you can imagine is like worked into this film, and I think it's amazing, honestly.
Especially like the fight with Shulian and Jen later in the film, where they're in the dojo and she's just like going through all the different weapons.
Yeah.
it's such a good scene.
Yeah, cycling through. For sure. Ed, are you back with us?
Yeah, sorry, I had a rough patch there. You were just talking about different kind of weapons, right?
Yeah.
I was like, roughly on the seat there. There's loads of different stuff. I think it's like you see it a lot in Chinese martial arts a lot of the time, where often there's like different styles have a relate to different weapons, and like in a way that a lot of like older Chinese stuff, it's all like this sort of Taoist spiritualism goes through a lot of it. I think the clubs, because that was kind of funny because like the weapons were a bit like the person holding them a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Like the guy with the two huge clubs was like kind of a bit like fat, and there was like a smaller guy, and there was like a thicker guy with like, I don't know, like a big stick or something. The clubs thing I think was probably meant to be like funny because I mean they look pretty weird, and he like just like gets beat up almost immediately. Yeah. But yeah, there's a proper wide array. Yeah, there's a fight where they cycle through a lot of different weapons, which again shows like great choreography, and they have to like train and like use all these different things in like a way that looks really cool, which they manage really well.
Yeah.
I think it's the point you said about like the weapons kind of matching their owners. I think that is like especially interesting for like the main characters. How like Li Mubai is kind of this really like holy, very pure figure through the whole film, and he's got this sword, and then you see it through Jen as like much more of like a bloody destructive kind of thing. I think it's sort of an interesting parallel.
Yeah, I think so. I think as well so I watched this video a while back about like different approaches to weapons, and like it was specifically about guns in the East and the West, mainly talking more about America than Europe in terms of the gun issue, but in the West a lot of the stories are more a gun is something that like, or a weapon is something that you acquire and then it like empowers you, whereas like in the East it's kind of more viewed as like it's an extension of you or like a part of you. And the way you're talking about how the different characters have a weapon that kind of reflects how they are, it kind of lines up with that view of things, which I think is quite interesting. And also, it kind of has this parallel, right, where the Green Destiny, which is the big sword that Li Mubai has, he's like mastered that. He knows how to use it. He like that belongs to him in some respect, and like that's authentic to how he is. Whereas Jen is someone who's not really authentic. She's trying to break out of like her role, and she steals a weapon that doesn't really belong to her. It doesn't suit her and it doesn't fit her, which kind of like parallels her storyline, I think.
Yeah, it's like she's it's like one of those things where you see like it's like used properly by like the monk like master, and it's like a tool for good, right? But when it's in the hands of this sort of like angry, like undisciplined figure, it's like a sort of destructive tool. So yeah, I think it's definitely like because the sword is like, I mean, we don't hear too much about it because we don't get told too much, but it's like a legendary sword that's like very special for whatever reason, very old, very well made. So it's obviously held with a lot of reverence, and it's almost like it's a character in itself, I guess. Like the sword changes hands, and like we see that there's the fight where that basically like just because she has the sword, she can't be beaten because the sword beats everything else, even though she's not necessarily used to it and stuff. It's like definitely a very, very different way if you think about like a Western action film, you have like the gearing up scene where they're like before the final heist or whatever, where they like pull loads of guns out of like boxes and stuff. It's like just so different in terms of how they approach like weapons. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, I'll move on to our first discussion question. So this is about Jen and Dark Cloud. So there's a big flashback scene in the middle where you kind of see a bit of backstory to Jen. How she gets her caravan is traveling through the desert and gets attacked by this group of bandits, the leader of whom is Dark Cloud. He leans in and pinches a comb off of her, and she chases him out, goes on some crazy horseback chase through the desert after this guy, ends up in love with this guy, kind of. I'm not really clear about that. How did you guys feel about how that relationship kind of developed, and did you kind of buy it? I'll Rob first on that.
I get that he was supposed to be like the sort of freedom, like the lack of family and the whole bandit lifestyle. It was her trying to break free from her like societal role. And like I kind of get it on that level, but also I just think the whole situation is kind of mental. I don't know. I feel bad for her mum that she just left in the desert, because Lo was like, she'll be fine, and Jen didn't really question it.
Yeah,
which I found quite funny. But no, I think it's interesting and compelling. I think it's cool when Lo comes back later. I don't know. I feel like they could have done that in a different way, but I'm glad he went all public and stupid about it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like in some aspect he was trying to get something out of her in the same way she was trying to get like freedom out of him. He wanted like the structure and like normal life that she had. I don't know.
Ed, thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's the way I thought about that is the way I thought about most of this film. In that it's like a classical drama, like I sort of mentioned earlier. It like feels Shakespearean. It's not like you wouldn't get a film nowadays where like someone gets like sort of kidnapped or whatever, like, and they end up falling in love because it's just so cliche. Do you know what I mean? Like nowadays, you'd be like, oh, of course we're gonna fall in love now. Your eyes start rolling out your fucking skull. But it's just what happens, right? This is like he's like a handsome, bold bandit leader. She's like a young, pretty, fiery, like warrior wannabe, and they like cross paths. And it's like, well, of course they're gonna fall in love. That's what happens in these stories, Like that's like a very classic sort of intersection of like personalities. He's like the loner, the nomad. She's like she's actually a bit more complicated musical. She'd just be like the princess, the fancy nobility, like young woman. But actually, she's also like a fiery, undisciplined martial arts expert somehow. But that's how this film works, so whatever. Yeah, well, so yeah, believable, not really, but it's how the story works. So it's whatever, who cares?
Yeah, I found it a bit odd. In that, like, there's a bit where he's like, she wakes up and she's freaking out, and he's like, "Don't worry, I'm not going to do anything to you, like assault or anything," and like, but you're just going to keep her there until she falls in love with you. That sounds, do you know what I mean? It's like just as creepy. You know what I mean?
Romantic robbing and kidnapping.
Well, I think it's meant to be like until she stops trying to kill him, because she does like he doesn't tie her up, and then she like wakes up and like cracks him around the head with a rock, and I was like, oh, he could be dead actually. So then he ties her up, but then he lets her. Oh yeah, it's just like, why is he keeping her there? How long is she there for as well? By the way, like it's not really sort of clear, but it's not important because it's not about like the reality. It's not about so much the reality, right? It's about the way the drama moves. Like it's just a classical story. It's like, so yeah, I don't know. It's like hard to judge on that aspect, I think.
Yeah, I think there's like, the way it went down is awkward, but then also like I think what Rob touched on of like she's this very repressed woman who's stuck in her role, and he represents like all the things of freedom and having no rules and getting away from all of that stuff. So on that level, I definitely buy it. Okie dokie. Yeah. Was there anything else you wanted to touch on with that? Sorry.
No, sorry, I'm good.
Cool. I'll move on to the next question then, which is about about two characters, Jen and the Jade Fox. Do you think so? These are kind of the quote unquote villains of the film. Do you think these guys are worthy of sympathy?
So I think the film wants us to say no for Jade Fox
Yeah.
and yes for Jen because it's like a whole redemption arc. Actually, I was reading a bit about this, and I think you said somewhere that like poisoning is a theme, and you can it's like poisoning / like corruption sort of thing, and in that you get like a redemption sort of arc as well. In the Jen, who is the thief from the start of the film, she's like very sort of like we said, undisciplined and like looking for her place in the world and stuff. And she's like, she steals a sword that's bad. She like helps Jade Fox, who's like a murderer and a thief. So that's bad as well. But at the end, you think she going to turn around? Like she seems like she's being persuaded to study either study under Li Mubai, who's the master of Wudan or whatever it's called, the martial art, which is made up, by the way. I'd see if it was real, but entirely fictional, unfortunately. So we can't all learn to do that. Or she's got like, I guess she's got like 3 like stabilizing like redemption life choices, right? She can either train to become like a proper martial artist. She can go back to her husband and live the life her parents want her to lead, for like the good of her family, or she can go run away with Dark Clouds, go be with him in the desert or whatever. And yeah, I mean, that sort of doesn't end up. None of those things end up happening. But is that the ultimate redemption in that she doesn't choose any of those 3 things? She actually chooses her own path and wishes for something, presumably. Which I think we're going to get into later, so I'm not going to go too much into it. But the Jade Fox is kind of so. I'm not sure how it was meant to be at the time, and I don't know how this would be looked upon in China. But there's a bit fairly early on in the film where it mentioned she was may have been sexually assaulted by Li Mubai's master, who's like this martial arts guy, and he refused to teach her Wudan or whatever. And I was when you hear that, you're like, oh, that's not very nice. Maybe she's actually a more tragic character. But I think as the film goes on, that's sort of not really played on a lot, and it's mostly she's just a horrible old bag. Is pretty much what happens. She's nasty. She kills that policeman who's got a daughter that we see. She kills everybody. She steals everything. She's spiteful and jealous. So yeah, I guess in the film, the way the film is approaching it, Jade Fox no, Jen yes, is what I'm
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think I don't know. Jade Fox is in sort of this weird space where I feel like she's sort of what Jen would be without Li Mubai and that sort of thing. It's like what the world would turn her into, because that is kind of what I see Jade Fox as. It's just sort of the world turned her into this, especially with the Wu Dai Master stuff like that when she talks about it. And I know what's it called, Yu Shulian is talking with Li Mubai about this. Sorry, I'm stumbling on these names, but midway through about how they don't accept any women into the Wudong school and stuff like that, and Jen would be the first exception. So I feel like she is supposed to be this bitter, poisoned woman, but the world has turned her into that. I don't think that makes her worthy of sympathy, but I feel I don't know. It's an interesting depth to her character. I do find it cool that she is one of 2 people who ever kills anyone in the film, and the other one, Li Mubai, kills her and then dies immediately afterwards. So I don't know. I feel like there's something cool in that. And touching on the poison, I noticed the poison is a theme throughout, and in contrast to sort of the martial arts.
Yeah.
Yu Shu Lian gives a pretty big speech early on to Jen Yu when she's it's a rough life, but we have rules and stuff like that, and that's what makes it, and honor and stuff like that, and that's what makes it different than these crazy stories. And I feel it's poison is in contrast to these martial arts styles that is dishonor and trickery, versus the very honorable, rigid sort of styles that Li Mubai in particular represents. So that it does have quite a cool opposing figure. Jen, I don't know. I feel like Jen doesn't really do a lot wrong. She does bad things, but mostly it's just stealing the sword and running away and beating up some people who are trying to beat her up. So I don't really.
Well, so the being her up thing, this is so this is something I've literally only got from martial arts films, so it might be fucking wrong. But there's a theme in like another martial art, in Chinese martial arts films specifically. You have like if you have two people who know if and they both practice martial arts, they have like they will like have a little fight just to like test each other's skill out, I guess.
Yeah.
Just like a friendly. No, it's not necessarily completely friendly, but like not aggressive. It's not like they're trying to kill each other, and they'll just try and like feel each other out and like test each other's skills and stuff. And I think those guys are saying what they wanted to do was like, ooh, just a little friendly sparring session. She like beats the shit out of them. It wasn't very nice, but she didn't kill them either, so it could have been worse.
This is the restaurant scene you're talking about.
Yeah. The restaurant. When they wreck that poor man's restaurant, think of how much he's gonna have to do to like put all that back together. She's like destroyed his livelihood. That's very nice.
Yeah.
He had to go to a whole different restaurant to get her food as well, so he probably had the shock of his life when he came back.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Just like came back 10 minutes later and was like, where's that stairway gone? It was like it's just on the floor now.
Yeah. For sure. I think with what you guys touched on the poison, I didn't really mention that, but it definitely is like a recurring theme, and like as well as there being literal poison in the film, like Jade Fox is the poison to Jen. Like I really feel like Jen is kind of the protagonist of this film, way more so than Li
I think she absolutely is. Li Mubai's like not in it for the first half an hour, right?
Yeah.
He's just like turns up.
He's mentioned constantly, but never really
the only person mentioned constantly by name, so the only person whose name I've remembered properly.
Yeah. I mean,
I think Jen Yu is kind of a Skywalker figure, Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. This is when I was talking about being like a classical, like the way the film is structured. It's like so classical, like it's like a play almost. So we have like this like hero, this main character. It's like a Skywalker exactly, and you have like you sort of not quite Darth Vader-y. But Li Mubai is like very much like an Obi-Wan figure, right? He's like a master mentor sort of person that ends up dying at the end of the film.
Spoilers.
In a tragic. I mean, we're 18 years on now. I think everybody's seen this.
Yeah, spoilers are fair game in film club. Like,
so it's
turning into a show about it.
Yeah,
exactly. Like, it's going to be difficult to talk to like break this down without giving away any spoilers. By the way, it was Jen Yu who's working with the Jade Fox that stole the sword.
yeah. I mean, that was one of those ones. It's like dramatic irony, right? Where we know because it's literally you can see her fucking eye. It's very clearly her. But also, it's like we're not going to spend 5 minutes talking to this random character for no reason.
Yeah.
Like, so it's obviously going to. We all knew it was her, but then so did Shulin, she knew the entire time as well, which I think we do, but we like figure out slowly that was nice. It was like some like women. It was like Agatha Christie. It was like a female detective work.
Yeah.
In that Li Mubai's going around trying to beat people up, and she's like working out with her smarts,
Yeah. I mean that leads in very easily to one of our other discussion questions here. As we spoke about, we think Jen is kind of the protagonist of the film, and as well there are many other complex and layered female characters. Would you describe this as a feminist film, Ed?
Tricky, because a feminist film is sometimes because it's difficult, right? Because you wouldn't think of a film coming out of Hong Kong or China, even one aimed for Western audiences, necessarily as being feminist. That's not all, but this it really does have like a lot of like you said, multi-layered female characters. I think it's sort of like dampened by the fact that everyone is very like reverential towards Li Mubai, who like is mentioned all the time. He's sort of the main character, but he's not really. Like the main character is actually this young woman.
Yeah.
And actually, I was thinking that the best fight scene in the film is between two women, which is like I don't think I've ever seen that before in the martial arts film. Like I guess like the Kill Bill films, but they're a bit weird because Tarantino they're a bit wacky. But this is like a proper like Chinese like balls to wall fight. Everyone's swinging around 3 kinds of sword like fight, and it's just it's between the two female characters. And I was like, yeah, I guess it is. I think it's really come across as that, even if maybe that wasn't the intention, or maybe it was the intention and he disguised it by talking about the bald monkey bloke the entire time. I suppose who we really care about, which is the two female characters.
Yeah, I definitely think of it as like a maybe feminist film as a label, is kind of weird, but like is very women focused, and that's kind of, I don't know. So yeah, I'd call it a feminist film, honestly. Feminist in its text. Yeah, I feel like the main two characters who get the most screen time, Yu Shulian and Jen Yu, are both women who, you know, live similar sort of life paths, but separate enough that, you know, they get this interesting dynamic.
Well, the whole story is that they're choosing like their own path, right? That's like the narrative is that she has, and Jen it wants to, and she's got like a couple of paths open to her. And, you know, and I guess the whole story with Jen is the sort of romance as well with her and Limu Bai. And it's like, I mean, I think that's still because I think there's there's this line of thinking if a woman is over a certain age in like these narratives, then she's going to be like a spinster, you know, like the Jade Fox is. She's like a sort of older single woman. You know, she's going to be a governess for the rest of her life until she dies. She's not going to have a husband, and that's like her life is over basically. That's it. Whereas she is like she's like a warrior, so that's already a bit different. And then, but also she like can find like love or like a functional relationship later in life, which is like bucking another trend. I'm not sure exactly how it was in the Qing dynasty in China, but it feels like that probably wouldn't be a common occurrence.
Yeah. I think it's interesting because like I think Jen Yu sees Yu Shulian as like this free woman, but I feel like she isn't as free as you think. Like she's very tied down by especially her past. Like she's still like faithful to her engaged to be husband who died so many years ago, and like she never does anything despite knowing about like Limu Bai the entire time. I don't know.
I think it's it's a funny one, isn't it? Because is that like a sort of sense of obligation to like her like a man? Is that like her being linked to a man, or is it more to do with the like this warrior's honor that that they have? So I mean, it could be both. Maybe it is, but I was just thinking they run a business. Like she runs a business, and I can't remember what it's supposed to be. And they mentioned
protection company.
Yeah, that's it.
Security.
Because they mentioned like once to start the film, and then you just like forget about it. But she's always like busy and stuff. So there you go. She's an entrepreneur as well.
Yeah.
She's like Donald Trump. But
yeah. I think I think repression is like one of the strongest themes that runs through this film. Of like every character is dealing with repression in some way. Like Jen, very clearly, she's stuck in this role as like the daughter of a noble she doesn't want to be. But both Limu Bai and Shulian have this like quite very strong, I would say, repressed love for each other that they're like both aware of, but both feel unable to act upon. And I think that's that scene you mentioned where Jen is kind of looking up to Shulian as like a sister who's completely free and can do whatever she wants, and like Shulian's just like, no, like that's just not. I'm not free at all. You know what I mean? I want to love Limu Bai. I think that's interesting when you see at the end of the film, like at the very climax when Limu Bai's dead, and basically Jen is saying you can go to Wudang Mountain, or sorry, Shulian says that to Jen, and she's like, whatever you do, like live a life that's you. Basically, she's trying to say like, break free of this repression and everything, like, and actually go and be your own person.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree completely. A lot of repression. A lot of people fighting repression makes for a good story.
Yeah.
You know, people working towards, people wanting to do things.
Yeah.
I kind of want to talk about the mountain in that as well, because I think there's some interesting.
Yeah, go for it.
Like a wish, because I kind of think that representationally, that ending is her getting her like real freedom. I don't know if like Yu Shulian will ever get properly freedom, but like I think she did at that point. That was her symbolically doing it, and the whole I wonder what happened. I feel like she didn't. I don't know. Do you want to ask the question? Sorry, I feel like
okay, so yeah, this is the question that Roz was alluding to. What do you think Jen wished for as she leapt from the mountain? So at the very end of the film, leaps from the mountain, kind of flies away. It's kind of a bit ambiguous whether she does fulfill this, this prophecy of living and achieving her dream, or whether she
Fade
just
to
goes,
black.
quick splat.
That's it. Yeah, honestly, if we just heard like a thump, when it fades to black and the credits start, that was like we'd be like, oh, she's fucking dead. Yeah, the mountain. It's so a little backstory. There's a bit in the film. I think it's Wudang Mountain, right? It's meant to be where this martial arts sort of came from, which they all study. And there's like a legend that Dark Cloud, who's like her bandit lover, tells her someone jumps off the mountain and a guy goes up the mountain. He wishes for his children to be well or something because they're sick, and he jumps off the mountain. And he's like, oh, the children were fine, and he didn't die, but he was never heard from again. And it's like, okay, well, I think he probably did die then, or at least fucking vanished into the clouds to be with the spirit people. I don't. And then the end of the film, so obviously everyone's dead, or like everyone's. It's like a tragedy. It's like a Shakespearean tragedy. Like everyone fucking died. She runs. So she tells Jen gets told to go to Wudang Mountain. Make your choice. Choose your own path. And she chooses to jump off the mountain. Which feels like a waste. Everyone's like sacrificed themselves so she can jump off a fucking mountain. But yeah, I mean, it's like a point about, like we were just talking about, like redemption and like it's about what she chooses. That's the point. It's like what she wants to do. She's following her own path, even if that path does end at a cliff edge.
Okay, Rob, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I feel like it's super symbolic in like the fact that I don't think it actually means anything like, in the fiction itself. Like her jumping off the mountain, I don't think is like he's like, wow, she's gonna get a wish granted. I wonder what she asked for. I feel like it is solely just like, oh, she's free now. Look how free she is. She's literally flying.
Yeah, I agree actually.
Yeah, I think that's why she asks him to like make a wish, because she's not wishing. This is just freedom, I guess. I don't know.
Sounds like I was a bit distracted because I thought it sounded like when people blow out your candles on your birthday today, okay, when you're younger, and your mum's like, "You make a wish," and it's like she says that to him, like, "Make a wish. I'm gonna jump off the fucking cliff now." Yeah.
I was shocked that he closed his eyes.
He didn't try and stop her or anything. He's like,
yeah,
I goes.
Honestly, like the fact that he doesn't try and stop her at all, like, kind of alludes to me that like there's something not real, there's something only metaphorical about her actually jumping off the mountain. Like, she hasn't. It's not that she's actually left from a mountain. She's just actually left as far as all the story characters and everyone that she's known before. She has never been seen again. Do you know what I mean? She's actually started her new life.
I definitely think it's meant to be more of a storytelling element than it is to be anything actually. Yeah. Absolutely, and then that's the way the film is a lot of the time. Like I was talking about, like very classical, like 3 acts, very big, like high drama, big, massive romance, exciting fighting, and then it ends with a very like melodramatic, sort of symbolic ending. I think it's all tied together nicely.
Yeah, no, I gotta agree. Like, I think, it does tie together nicely, and it's like, live or die. What she wishes for, what she doesn't wish for. Like, it's probably like the only free choice she actually makes throughout the whole film that isn't enormously influenced by like her parents or Jade Fox or Li Mubai, because like even though Li Mubai is kind of like trying to save her, I guess, from the Jade Fox and from the corruption or whatever, he still kind of wants something off her. Do you know what I mean? Like, he still isn't really treating her as like her own person to make the choice. It's like he still wants something from her. Do you know what I mean? Rather than her being a free person. Yeah,
it's like she's like Anakin Skywalker again with the Star Wars reference.
Yeah,
and it's like it's more about, from her perspective, you can see how it feels like everyone's trying to control her. Even got the dark side in them. what's the name, Jade Fox, or you've got Yoda / Obi-Wan, or you've got the other path, which is her parents, I guess, telling her what to do. And from her perspective, I guess it just feels she feels controlled from all angles. So she beats up some people in a restaurant and then jumps off a mountain. I think which we'd all do in the circumstances, honestly.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Actually, I really want to quickly bring something up. It's like trivia, really. It's not really something we can particularly talk about, but I thought it was super funny. You guys must have seen this when you're reading about the film, because it was one of the first things I read. Was apparently the Chinese audiences complained about the accents of the lead characters, which is so funny because obviously we can't tell because we don't speak Mandarin. But Li Mubai's from Hong Kong, so he speaks Cantonese usually, so he's got a thick Hong Kong accent. Jen, I think, is from like Beijing or something, so she had like a Beijing accent. The other female lead, whose name I've forgotten again, is Shen Lo.
Actress,
she's Malaysian and can't speak Mandarin, so she learned her lines phonetically. So presumably she sounded like an idiot. Like everything she said must have been like completely baffling. And then the other guy, Dark Cloud, I can't remember about him. He's like he's from like somewhere else in China. I think he's from like another part of China. He has a strong read. So I imagine this film is a mess.
Yeah.
When they were like
very different if you're Chinese.
Yeah. We missed out on that. What if like Li Mubai's got like a thick West Country accent? Can you imagine?
Well, apparently that's the problem that Arnold Schwarzenegger has in Germany. Is that in his accent he just sounds like a farmer?
He's got like a farm accent, right? Because he's from where he's from in Austria. It was like super thick farmland. So if like Li Mubai was just like, "You've got the green destiny," it was like in China's like, "What the fuck is this guy saying? Who's this yokel?" So I just thought that was super funny, man. It's just like one of these things I will never know, and I'm so upset that I can never appreciate that. It'd be amazing. So yeah, sorry, move on, please. There's nothing to talk about.
Okay, to move on. So I just want to. This kind of relates to what we just spoke about with Jen in the mountain, but I think it kind of runs through the film. There's this quote from Li Mubai where he's having a bit of a touching scene with Xu Lian, and like he touches her hand to his face, and then like later says, "Only by letting go can we truly possess what is real." Which is definitely like kind of like a bit of a meditative like sentiment of like you gotta ascend or whatever. But I just think it's interesting to think about how that kind of reflects on the whole film, because Jen obviously very literally lets go when she leaves from the mountain. But I think as well you can kind of see that in the other characters, and I think Xu Lian in some way has to let go at the end when Li Mubai dies. And also, in a kind of ironic twist, Li Mubai is dying, and he's not letting go of like his earthly attractions. He's letting go of this idea of meditation and spirituality to say, no, I do want to be human in this moment. You know what I mean? I want to spend my last breaths telling you that I love you, like, which I thought was like a very interesting when you kind of see the theme, or like, let's say the theme of the film so neatly encapsulated in one line, but then it also kind of plays out across this whole story.
Yeah, I think like love, like the idea of love, is like very prioritized a lot. As you said with Li Mubai at the end, where he's like saying, because there's a bit of this other film where he's basically like saying, I basically achieved enlightenment, right? When they're talking, right? I think it's like the first conversation they have. Yeah. When he comes down from the mountain, or what he's been doing, and he's basically said, I achieved enlightenment. And then at the end of the film, he said, fuck that, man, I don't want enlightenment. I actually wanted to spend more time with you and tell you that I love you. And in the way that, ultimately Jen, before throwing herself off the mountain, does choose love, or her love for, the bandit king, whatever the fuck he is. Love ends up being the choice. People choose love in this film. There isn't like a love triangle, they could have done a love triangle. Husband who, we never see, we don't know who he is, we haven't. And they said they could have done a thing where she has to choose, which is the more power, which is the pure love, is it this sort of like arranged world, which is like more realistic. I think if the film was like Western and more modern, maybe that would be the story, because that's like a very complicated like character thing, right? Does she choose the sort of like it's not like proper. It's like I don't know how to describe it. When people get married when people get married for political or like
Arranged
family
marriages.
reasons, like they used to do, like even 100 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, you grow to love each other, and it's like starts off with you like each other, and then you spend all this time with each other, and end up in this sort of like, it's not like passionate, but it's like, I don't know, comfortable, like love. Or did she choose, the fiery, passionate, like adolescent, it's dangerous love with the bandit? But they didn't do that. They were like,
Yeah.
love or nothing.
Yeah, I
What
don't
she's
even
like.
think her arranged husband even exists in the film, apart from
Yeah.
like, in mention.
He's
Yeah.
not in it at all. I think I was expecting like, one mention, maybe he gets like beaten up or something at one point, and someone punches him in the face. But no, he's literally just not. They didn't want to pay another actor. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe that was it. Maybe they should have paid him instead of that security guard who was like around the whole film but didn't really do anything.
Bo, I loved Bo.
Yeah.
I mean, he just didn't like. He was just
beat one time and then hung out in the background for the rest of the film.
yeah.
Yeah.
He was just. I think did they not want to pay any more extras to have lines because it was just that guy with his like big face, very small features. I don't know whether it's because where they had their hair, so they made their heads look really big, or his
Yeah.
head look really big actually. That was pretty funny. Yeah, it was just he got the shit beat out of him. He was like a comic character, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
felt very a bit out of place. I don't know. Like maybe they should have been more like the jester in Macbeth.
I'm sorry,
feel
mate.
like-
That reference is way too highbrow for me.
Oh. Well, I mean, it's actually not very suitable because Jester in Macbeth is a tragic character who hangs himself halfway through the play. So
Oh, okay.
I find it
Yeah.
funny how like he has his funny fight moment where like he's got his big staff being controlled by the Jade Fox to beat up his mate, and that's like funny. And then like 2 minutes later, his mate gets stabbed through the
yeah,
head.
he literally died.
Yeah.
I was like, this is a. Well, I didn't really like the comedy. I mean, I didn't. That's not what I complain about too much because it's like 30 seconds, but
Yeah.
the film is so serious and so straight faced, and obviously there's so many these things where there's so much ridiculous stuff happening that it has unless it's straight faced all the time, I feel like it falls apart.
Yeah.
When you've got like people like sort of walking on air, like literally sort of like gliding,
Yeah.
and you like take this seriously, and the film is looking at you and saying, take this seriously, don't laugh, this is happening. And you're like, okay, they're magical martial artists. But when you got a thing where there's like a big guy with a stick who's sort of like foot tripping over,
Mm.
and like being used as like controlled because he's so rubbish, I was like, is this meant to be funny? Am I supposed to be laughing? I wasn't 100% sure on that. But like I said, very small part of the film, so not in my eyes.
Yeah, I was looking at that scene because like there's a whole bit where basically she's using the guy as a weapon against the other guy,
Yeah.
basically, and like controlling his weapon. And I was like, is there, you know what I mean? Is there meaning here? Like,
Yeah, why are they doing this?
like,
Is it just for a laugh?
yeah, I mean, I think, I don't know, if we're gonna dip deep into the rabbit hole, maybe it's saying something about like how like well-meaning but inadequate people are
Yeah, but
actually
rubbish.
like are not just useless but like actively can be used by bad forces against the good.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Well, I think that's fair enough, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's like obviously wants to be there to help out, and actually end up getting in the way and probably
Yeah.
getting his mate killed. Yeah, so I wonder if Fang Lee thought about it that much.
yeah,
For
I'm not
Austen.
sure because it's like it seems a bit of a ridiculous thing to try and read it too much into. But
Yeah, but I think I don't know. It seems fair to me. But I'm like English lit kind of guy. I did that, so I'm all for it. I'm big into that, Tristan. I love it.
okay.
5 stars. 5 stars.
Sai's daughter, Sue, after he dies, appears in the film, I think, like 2 more times.
Yeah,
And then she
there was
kind of
a
disappears.
there's a really weird bit where I can't remember what the guy's fucking called now. The policeman. He gets
Sai.
gets a spinning disc in the head, and then his daughter's all sad and stuff, and then she like says, "Oh, he's a policeman, now he's dead," and that like elevates the Jade Fox, right? Because before she was just a thief, now she's like a murderer, so it's like a whole big deal. But yeah, there's I thought she was she going to become she was going to go under the wing of one of the martial artists, or at least the guard whose name I still can't remember. But there's she's like 2 more scenes. One really weird scene where he's like standing outside where she lives, and then she's like, "Come inside," and we're like eyebrows raised slightly. And he's like, "No, I will stand guard." Oh no, come on, please come inside. And he's like, "Fine then," and then he goes inside, and then the scene ends. Yeah, I was just like, "What's going?"
I didn't get that at all. Yeah, I didn't get that bit at all.
Well, I think she's a bit young to be honest. So she could have been much older than like 16, 17. I don't know how old she's supposed to be because we literally know nothing about this character. She just says like 5 things, and then she's gone.
I thought she was going to be used as like a cool little. She's gonna be like morally poisoned by killing the Jade Fox, so it's she's perpetuating the cycle. Yeah. But then she didn't. She just disappeared. But I don't know.
What happened to her? Did she go back to wherever her dad? No, medieval China, man. It's rough life.
Yeah, for sure. Rough life, most definitely. All right. I mean, I'm fresh out of discussion questions. We got through them well quick. Is there anything else you guys wanted to bring up about the film? Highs or lows?
This is not a point, but there's a really cool ringy sound effect every time someone's done using the green destiny sword or whatever. It's super cool. I noticed that like 5 different scenes, and every single time I was like, "That's so sick."
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really
point.
Yeah. I do. I love the wiggle effect it has as well. Like,
like
they brandish it and then it just like wobbles a tiny bit, like, and then
Yeah, I wonder what they used to film that. I wonder what it was. Was it just like? Do you think it was just like a piece of like aluminium? Wackled it about.
I don't know.
Because it doesn't look very sturdy, does it? But they they chop the crap out of everything with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm curious how they must have done that as well, because there's so many times like someone just cuts right through a weapon with it, or like cuts through some furniture or something, and it's like you see it like cleanly split. There's a bit at the start where he's just showing it off, and he just goes like ding, and it like cuts through this teacup, and it splits like completely perfectly.
Oh yeah, it's like a big like thick ceramic teacup.
Was that made out of fucking chocolate or some shit? You know, like.
Said she made out of paper. One thing I did want to. Sorry, Rob. Go on.
Just on that scene, I thought it was funny how he immediately before the sword means nothing. It's all about blah 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 how you use it, and then immediately uses it to slice a teacup in half. A weird time to make that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not great timing for Mr. Leave Me By. Maybe he should have stayed up the mountain. What I was going to say quickly is, I think one of the reasons this film, for me, felt like a sort of old-fashioned, sort of epic tale sort of thing. Location shots, especially in the sort of second act flash to Jen and Dark Cloud, and because I don't know, I think they shot in the Gobi Desert. So and it looks like they went there for however long to get those shots, and there's like a lot of great landscapes. It really feels like they're in the middle of the fucking desert.
Yeah.
And sometimes I was thinking of a lot of the films I've seen recently, and most of them are modern. And do you know what I mean? It tends to be like smaller scale stuff. You're in like a couple of buildings or like a city. But when it was like she's out in the wilderness, it was like, whoa, actually she's in. And I don't know whether it's just because it's like a budget thing nowadays, or like just a style of filmmaking. People don't want to do that anymore. People have seen Lawrence of Arabia, they've seen Ben-Hur, sick of all this big scale stuff, but not in China apparently, or not. Ang Lee thought that was appropriate. I think this is a book, so I don't know if it's in the book.
Part of a trilogy, I think so.
Of like books I will never read because I can't read Mandarin or whatever the written version is called, traditional simplified Chinese.
Yeah.
But I think that was really good. Like a lot of temptation these days, especially to use CGI on these big sort of landscape shots, because you can just pop them right in editing. But I didn't think they did that here. I don't know if they did. Maybe they did, and I've been fooled, and now I look like a fucking idiot. We're talking about how lovely the locations look, but I really appreciate that. I thought it really added to the otherworldliness of like the bandit lifestyle, because we don't see much of Beijing, which they're allegedly in. We see like 4 or 5 houses and like one complex and some rooftops.
Yeah.
But when you like flashback and now we're in the desert, and it's like really does feel like there's a big difference there. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, I would just to pick up on maybe not necessarily so much in terms of the locations, but you mentioned like not using green screen or CGI. I think that's got to be maybe one of the main reasons why this film still looks so good, because all of the fight scenes are wires. Like, almost none of it's CGI. Even probably the most famous or iconic fight scene in the film on the bamboo trees, where they're like standing on these trees, they're all like bending under their weight and stuff. Like, they're literally on those trees on wires, which is absolutely amazing. And like, I think if it was 2000 CGI, it might look a bit crap right now. Whereas like,
oh yeah, 100%.
I don't think there was. I think there was one moment out of like a whole film worth of amazing moments where I thought that doesn't look amazing. Do you know what I mean? Otherwise, the whole time I was like, this just looks flawless, honestly.
Yeah. So I actually watched. This is it's like a YouTube. So I actually Jackie Chan, but I think it applies to a lot of Eastern styles of directing and shooting, which I'm not sure if Ang Lee falls into that category, sort of like Western educated. But the way they show action and specifically these fight scenes that are very, very strictly and well choreographed, and you get it more with sort of modern Western action films. And like, usually the worse the action film, the worse this sort of thing. But you get like close-up shaky cam, that when it's all like right next to the fight, the actor, it's like the camera's like, and it's like shaking around, and it's like shaking around to show urgency or like just to show that it's hectic. But what happens in Eastern cinema, and like again, when I saw this like being explained, it was specifically about Jackie Chan film, is the camera is like wide. It's very wide shot, and usually it will show both people, usually with the occasional close up on a specific like limb, and then they will just that the fight will happen in this wide shot, and it shows like the whole thing, and it shows the move, and it shows how well the choreography is done. And obviously that's more difficult because you have to have this cinematography and actors who are capable of working with it. But when you get it right and you can do it, it looks so much better than like the Expendables, where they just like shoot stuff and Sylvester Stallone slurs something barely comprehensible, like whatever the fuck accent is. And I think it's like one of the best things about martial arts films, honestly. Like, you just don't get them in films made outside, like Indonesia, like Japan. Like you don't like, people in the West don't make those films. But if you watch like a martial arts film from Jackie Chan film, Ip Man, heard of those? They're quite recent. Got Donnie Yen in. I haven't actually watched any Bruce Lee films. Presumably those as well. Action's all wide, bunch of dudes punching each other. It looks fucking good. And that's what I love about martial arts films.
Yeah.
Dudes punching each other.
Yeah.
Or women in this case.
Yeah,
so that's
very.
fine.
I don't think was there any dudes punching each other at all.
Other than when the dude fights the other dude because the Jade Fox has got him.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Only dude on dude violence in that film.
Yeah, it's all mostly because it's probably the Jen or the other lady whose name I've forgotten.
Julien.
There we go. Because she's the main action star, really, because she has that little fight at the beginning, the thief, and then we have Jen fighting she fights the bandits a little bit, and then her like Jen and Li Mubai fight like a couple of times, but it's not serious, and the Jade Fox Li Mubai, but it's mostly woman on woman or men, isn't it? There's no actual like two roided up dudes, and that's what I want to see. I don't want to watch women punching each other. I want to watch Sylvester Stallone, Terry Crews, and a bucket of baby oil going at it. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, I think it's honestly quite stunning, and maybe like a testament to how well made the film is and how well choreographed it is, that this film is basically all about women and no one even really noticed about it. Do you know what I mean? Like, when this film came out, it wasn't like, check out the new woman film. Do you know what I mean? Like, there was almost no mention of the fact that this film almost exclusively about and focusing on women.
Do you think if because on the poster Chow Yun-fat's he's like the biggest character, do you think if it was like one of the women that it's a film about women, I don't want to see that. Do you think the marketing team was like that? Put the bloke on it. Yeah. Put him up there. People go see it. It's interesting.
Definitely. And I think there's something funny. I won't be able to get it up on the stream very quickly, but I saw something go around on Twitter the other day about the film Brokeback Mountain, which is also directed by Ang Lee, who directed this. If you guys didn't know. very crazy set of films to direct. Check out his IMDb page. Anyway, the Brokeback Mountain film, which is a film about gay lovers, gay cowboys, is all the posters for it at the time had a man and a woman on the front, and had Heath Ledger and this woman on the poster, and it's like so disingenuous, but like that's kind of the nature of advertising. They will always put
what people want to see
on the screen. Yeah, what people want to see. So like the male lead will go on the screen even if they're barely even the focus of the film.
Yeah, wow. Like Channing Tatum in Kingsman 2. Have you seen Kingsman 2?
Yeah.
So Kingsman 2 I thought was pretty rubbish. Channing Tatum is really heavily in the trailer. Film for like 10 minutes and then he just disappears. And I was like, I've been robbed.
He's like one of the highest billing on all the posters as well.
Yeah. He's like big name, he's based on it, and I was just like, I didn't even come here for Channing Tatum, I'm still disappointed. So yeah, that's this is a real sleeper, isn't it? Like a real feminist sleeper. Who knew?
Yeah, for sure.
I didn't even think about it. I've seen this show before, never being about women, and I watched it again. And I was like, there's a lot of chicks in this, and then we've been talking about it. I'm like, yeah,
it's literally all about women. Yeah, it's crazy.
It's literally about like two women, basically, and then what goes on around them.
Yeah.
And there's like some guys, but they're only there because the women. Does it do the what's that test called?
The
where?
Test. It passes it like,
I bet it doesn't.
It passes it like 6 times over. Yeah.
Oh
sure.
Shit! Really?
Yeah.
Oh man, I was thinking because a lot of the time they're talking about like her husband.
Yeah.
Leaving by or something. And I was like, well, they're just talking about blow.
But like, think about all the times that Jade Fox and Jen talk to each other. Think about when she and Jen talk about each other when they're fighting, stuff like that. Like, yeah.
Man, I'm into it. This is great. I love it. This film, I'm rating this film higher now because it's like a sleeper feminist film.
Yeah, I do kind of love that. It's not like, because you know what I mean. If that was the headline, big feminist film like Ang Lee,
feminist martial arts film.
Yeah, everyone would shit on it, but like, it's just an amazing film, which I mean, it happens to be about women a lot and illustrates a lot of the kind of societal issues there, which I very much appreciate.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, imagine if it was like based in modern. Someone was like, "I made a feminist martial arts," so people go mad.
Exactly. Yeah, they would.
They go mad. SJWs.
What's
that fucking social justice is a true combo, right? That's the line.
If they made this now, I think Jenny would be called out for being a Mary Sue. I think she'd be called a feminist character. I mean, she was, but like,
it's the sword. I think they blame it all on the sword, don't they?
Yeah.
They're saying like she's not like she's really good, she's good, but like the sword is actually it is elevating her.
I did find it funny that she was like stronger than the Jade Fox just because she could read.
Yeah. Well, we haven't touched on that. The problem of plaguing America's youth. Yeah, I thought it was
elderly.
Like the elderly Chinese. Yeah, I think that was kind of funny. I guess I don't know, maybe it's more in the cultural context of China, but like the idea of like learning from a manual seems pretty whack to me. But I think it's meant to be like an ancient scroll, right? So it has like spiritual connotations. It's not just literally a fucking like an IKEA diagram, but like a guy doing like moves.
Yeah.
So
10 steps to learn how to fly.
Yeah, how to fly. Why can they all fly? No one ever says. They just do. Some people can fly.
I was like jarred by the flying, and then like 10 minutes in, I was like, this is just how.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It's like when the film just says to you, "Are they flying?" You're like, "What?" And they're like, "They're flying." Yeah. Are you on board with this? Or are you not on board?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, yeah, fine. They fly.
I actually read like a couple of accounts of people who watched it in the cinema when it came out, or like at film festivals and stuff, and like. They watched this like 15 minutes of like Jane Austen style scene setting with, you know, the houses and all these the warriors and stuff like this, and then suddenly there's a scene where they're kind of flying through the air and running up walls and stuff, and people in the cinema were like not sure how to take it. Some of them were like kind of nervously laughing, like, or you know what I mean, just like not really sure how to take it. But by like it kind of gives you a taste of it in that first scene, and then there's go back to loads more story, and then like by the second time comes around when there's a fight scene, you're like, I'm so in for this. Like,
I think it was the point where they were fighting in the courtyard, running along balls that I was just kind of convinced, like, yeah, okay, this is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is actually a cool film. I think this is one of these two things, because you just mentioned people who are period drama, people flying about and shit.
Yeah.
But, it's got a reputation nowadays as like a martial art. So if you tune in and be like, oh, I'm going to see like a Jackie Chan film, I'm going to see the next Yip Man, I'm going to see like a Bruce Lee film. And you're like, what the fuck is going on? Why are these people talking about like marriage? Like, what's going on? And then you're like, have I been tricked into watching like some kind of like Sense and Sensibility style period drama? So it's super polarizing. I assume it comes from. I really think it's got like I've talked a lot about how it's got this real sense of like classical story, and I'm not 100% sure, but it really feels like it's super influenced by the like Hong Kong opera stuff, like The Wires, which is like doing theatre. And the Hong Kong Opera House is like famous for, where like Jackie Chan, Bruce Lee, they all trained there, I think. And you train to like do wire fighting.
Yeah.
And I wonder if it's just like one of those on like a film, because they do the wires. It's like a big dramatic like story. If there was just more singing, incomprehensible singing, it would be like an opera. Yeah.
Just quickly on the Jane Austen thing. It might seem crazy if you haven't actually seen this film that we're talking about Jane Austen in relation to it, but that actually was the way in which Ang Lee described it to Michelle Yeoh. Michelle Yeoh who plays Shu Lien. He said, think of it as Sense and Sensibility, but with the best fight scenes in the world ever.
I mean, yeah, he's got it.
Which is kind of what it is, which is really cool, honestly.
So did he make Sense and Sensibility before that? Because if then, I could see that as quite a good pitch.
He did. His previous film was Sense and Sensibility. So.
Yeah, I think that was his first big... what a fucking career, man. Yeah. Highs and lows.
Yeah.
I'm going to go watch that Hulk film now and just shut up. Ang Lee, why?
Yeah, for sure. All right, is there anything else you want to chuck in about this film before I ask you guys for your scores?
No, I think I'm good. I'm going to talk about it.
Yeah, I'm pretty talked out.
All right, let's go then. Ed, first for you, what do you give this film out of 10?
Look, I really hate miracle scores. It's so difficult to like put all these like complicated things. I feel like I'm gonna go with 8. I think I super like this. No, I really like martial arts films. This is great. It's got it all. It's like a classic like drama, but it's got punching people and swords, badly dubbed, dialogue sequences, and possibly John Hurt.
Watch the sub, you fools.
Yeah, watch the sub, guys. I watched the dub, but just because there wasn't anything else going. It really detracted.
Okay.
Read a bit. But yeah, 8 out of 10. I think this is a really great martial arts film. Really great sort of drama.
Cool. Rob?
I'd give it like a strong 8 to a weak 9. I'm kind of in a similar area. I really liked it. I don't know. I feel like maybe there's more it could have done, but it pretty much surpassed my expectations in most ways. So yeah, around that same sort of area.
Yeah. I feel I've actually got a spreadsheet of all of the scores everyone gives, and I'm by far the most optimistic and the most generous.
Yeah, you're really generous. I'm not really not generous at all. I'm the opposite. I'm not.
But I'm going to give this a 9. I don't think it's quite 10 material, but I enjoyed it so much, even when I was like a stupid child who didn't understand anything that was going on. And like I watched it again as like a fully fledged adult, and I thought, this is just a really entertaining film. There's a lot to think about there. There's a lot going on. The few reasons that I wouldn't bump up to a 10 is like there's quite a lot of exposition at the start. Like
there is.
And like honestly, like I need to think you're like completely flawless for you to be a 10. Do you know what I mean? So I'm gonna give it a solid 9. I think that's got to be the highest averaging film that we've ever done for sure.
Yeah, surely.
Yeah.
Actually, the exhibition thing, I thought about when the film started and I forgot about it. But right at the start, I like walks in, right, and she's like, "Li Mu Bai, you're a martial arts master. Where have you been?"
Yeah.
We're setting the sea. I see.
Yeah.
You've been training up a mountain. Yes, I've been training up a mountain.
How was the mountain? Yes, I've been meditating. Okay. My sword of Greek destiny. Okay, I get it. Yeah, but it's fine. Yeah. I literally, that happened. And I was like, oh, okay, this is a bit exposition-y. And I forgot about it over the next hour.
Gets itself out of the way. So.
All right, yeah. Thank you very much, guys, for coming on Film Club. Thank you, everyone, for watching. I've put a poll up. I'll post it in the chat right now for next week's films. Those films are Mean Girls or...
I've already voted.
Fucking love
Mean Girls or Grand Budapest Hotel. So you can check that out on my Twitter. Whilst you're there, make sure to follow me on Twitter, follow me on Twitch, all that good stuff. Anything you guys want to say?
Don't follow me on Twitter.
Wow, bold. That's the bold play. I think it's pretty fine on Twitter. I don't say anything, so you can follow me, and it's like I'm like an empty follower. Doesn't hurt,
All right.
Actually, I do.
Oh.
I was going to quickly say about next week. I've never seen the Grand Budapest Hotel, but I really, really want to talk about fucking Mean Girls. So...
please vote for Mean Girls, guys. Please. You know what? I actually have a list. I have a list of 10 films I want to do, and I picked Mean Girls, and then I was like, let's just pick one of the less popular ones from these 10, so that Mean Girls will win the poll.
Man, is there enough to talk about? Because are we just going to whoever's on is just going to.
There is enough to talk about Mean Girls.
Yeah, there is
hours.
for sure.
Man, yeah. Anyway, well, I hope it wins. That's all I'm saying. Even if I'm not on WhatsApp, that sounds great. Yeah, that's it. That's good for me.
All right, thank you very much for tuning in, guys, and I'll see you next week, 8 p.m. Film Club. Don't miss out.